Always wanted to be successful and didn't know what that looked like.
To do anything worthwhile in life, you need to have a level of intentionality.
We're way more focused on having no assholes in the firm. Our firm's mission is to help you achieve a future greater than your past.
Every great entrepreneur has the story of selling sweets at school.
Humans can accomplish anything they put in their mind when they believe it and they take action.
If you look after your people look after your customers.
Take progress over perfection.
Welcome to the podcast From Cold to Close. My name is Saeed and I'm the founder here at SRC Growth Partner, a growth company that works with professional services firms from around the world to help them increase their revenue and profitability by acquiring new clients. My guest today is Brett Gilliland, the founder of Visionary Wealth Advisors, a firm he launched in 2014 that has since grown to 9 office locations across the United States. With over 25 years of experience in the financial services industry, Brett has built his career on entrepreneurship, working for himself since graduating college. He spent a decade as a managing director at a major institution before striking out on his own, and throughout his career, he's recruited and developed over 100 financial advisors. Brett, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. Looking forward to being with you.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I really love having conversations with really good entrepreneurs. And based off of what I know about you, I'm really excited to have this conversation, primarily for our viewers and listeners as well, because I'm sure they can take some really great insights from this. But I guess the best place I like to start every single podcast is really letting the viewers and listeners kind of know who Brett actually is. So in a few words, can you share a little bit more so about who you are and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I'm a Brett from Mattoon, Illinois, in the central part of the United States, and grew up in a small town and loved every minute of it. I'm an only child and got to see some things when I was young, and some travels and adult parties that I would be at where you could have adult conversations and stuff like that. And so I always wanted to be successful and didn't know what that looked like, but I've thought about it since I was a young child for some reason. Married to my wife, to be 25 years this year, hard to believe. Wow. And then we have 4 children, so 4 boys, and that keeps us pretty busy between sports and all the stuff they get going on in their life. So I get to go to work and go home and do sports and do it all over again every day and have a blast doing it.
Yeah, it's a nice little synopsis of a great life. But I really like the fact that family is there and it's going to occupy your time. 4 boys, this can take a lot of your time. You married 25 years. But I want to really dive into a bit more about the industry of financial services and wealth advisory, right? I think a lot of the times people talk about financial services or wealth advising, but they don't really know what that is. So can you share a little bit more about what exactly you do and how you help clients, customers?
Yeah, I think, we do a lot. Obviously, there's in wealth management, depending on which kind of firm you're in. We're what's called an RIA, a registered investment advisory firm. And so we're a fiduciary. We work with our clients. We sit on the same side of the table as them. And I think what makes us unique, though, is we're not just like a one-trick pony. We're saying, hey, we're going to do your investments only. We quarterback the whole relationship. So we may introduce them, if they don't have an attorney, get them an attorney and an accountant and work with their bankers. And so we work with the whole realm of stuff in their life. And so it's full-blown wealth management. Being a firm called Visionary Wealth Advisors, we don't call them financial advisors, we call them visionaries. By definition, the visionary is what the future could or will be like. And so one of the things I tell our clients, what's nice is, doing this for 2.5 decades is I've seen the 20-year-olds, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, right now, 80-year-old clients. I've seen all walks of life on what you're going to be thinking about with you. I know you have a new young baby, right? So your thoughts and decisions are different than my 68-year-old client that is retiring next month. Those are 2 different things. And so I think when you work with somebody that's experienced and been around for a while, is you get to see the experience that you can learn from each client. And so I think that's what's great. And I call it the treadmill of life as well. You're busy, I'm busy, everybody listening to this show is probably busy. And so what we do, our job is I always like to use the analogy of pick you up, take you off the treadmill of life and set you down over here for at least an hour, 2 or 3 times a year, maybe 4 times a year, depending on your situation, and just slow down and think. And ask really thought-provoking questions and have you think about your future, because we want to help you design your future. And so our firm's mission is to help you achieve a future greater than your past. And so by doing that, achieving that future greater than your past takes a lot of work. It doesn't just happen, right? So we got to ask a lot of great questions, have clarity of where they want to go, when they want to get there, and then we build a plan on how we're going to make it happen.
I love that. I love that. And I think what you said there really resonates with me in the sense that to do anything worthwhile in life, you need to have a level of intentionality with what you do, right? And a level of
Yeah.
clarity. And having an expert there with you to be able to have a good conversation, understand what are the pathways for that individual person, like you said, whether they're got a newborn that's just arrived or 68 years old, right? And
Yeah.
so it's really interesting to hear. So, what got you to decide to go from a financial advisor to actually entrepreneurship and starting your business and going down that direction? What really motivated you to go down that direction?
Yeah, I think I like to build brands. It's just one of my favorite things to do. And, we've got a number of companies that we own and run. And so, but I always go back and I started selling candy in school when I was a kid. I'd
Mm.
have really pockets full of candy and I would sell it for, 25 cents or you get four for $1 or whatever. And every day I was coming home with 15, 18, 20, $25 of cash every day. And it got to the point where I would have my parents, drive me. I didn't have a license at this time, drive me to the store and I'd buy certain types of candy and I'd have little compartments in my book bag. And so while maybe I should have been more focused on schoolwork, I was focused on how I was building this candy business inside of the school. Looking back now, they probably wouldn't let me do that, but I did at that time. And so it was early on in my life that I knew I wanted to build and run my own business. I'm not very good at working for other people. I'm very good to work with, I think, but I like to build businesses. And so when I got into this industry, you work for yourself when you're a financial advisor anyway. So in a way, from right out of college, I never had the quote unquote boss or the paycheck that was given to me or the health benefits. So I had to go out and do all that stuff on my own. And then as I grew in my experience, I thought, I'm building something special here, but we're doing it for somebody else. And so if I'm going to put all this blood, sweat, and tears, this sweat equity into something, I might as well take the risk and bet on myself and do it for my family and our advisors and their families and so on and so forth. And so that's what we did. And so just trusted in ourselves. I have a business partner, Tim Hammett, who's been amazing since day one. And he and I were on the same kind of thought process of just go build something for others and make it about them and their practices and what they're doing. And so our financial advisors we have here, 40 something advisors and they're phenomenal people, but do it for them and their families and ultimately for us as well. It's been a great success and very happy we chose to do that.
For sure, for sure. And I have to say, I love the fact that every great entrepreneur has the story of selling sweets at school, right? Like every day, I swear, it's like you're born with it, right? And it's just an innate need. There's an innate kind of instinct to do something along those lines, and you can't get rid of it. And I love that you have that story as well.
Yeah. The nice thing
So,
was I have 4 boys. My second one had a nice little business going at school, his
oh
candy
wow,
business. So
yeah,
kind of next generation taking it over, but
proud father moment there,
proud
right?
father, but unfortunately in today's world, his got shut down. So
Of course it did. Of
he
course
did it
it
for a
did.
while and then they closed his doors
Too
on
much
him.
red tape these days,
Too
right?
much red tape.
So you talk about loving building businesses, building brands. Talk to me about what are the fundamental building blocks when you want to, let's say, someone who has already got a business or is thinking about starting a business. What's the fundamental building blocks that they need to be considering when going into, let's say, most of the viewers and listeners out here are already running a business. It might be anywhere between doing $50,000 a month to $1 million a month, right? So, and that would be different. But what do you think is the fundamental building blocks to build a business?
Yeah, great question. I think for me, it starts with belief. Number one, if you don't believe in yourself, it's gonna be really, really hard to do it, right? If you already think, gosh, what if? I'm not saying that we're not going to have things in our brain or our mind that's going to tell us, man, this is really big. So you're going to leave a 150-year-old company and start your own deal, and you think you're going to compete with the big boys and girls. It's like, yeah, I do believe that, right? And so you got to believe that whatever it is you're going to go do. I don't care what you're selling. You got to go into it with a belief system that you can actually do it and achieve whatever that end goal is for you, because it's going to be hard. It's going to be extremely difficult. And if you don't have that belief, when it gets really difficult, it's going to be hard to keep going. So I would say that's number one, belief. Number two is a support system. For me, when I started Visionary Wealth Advisors with Tim, I had just built our dream home, a year and a half before that. I had, we were successful. We were making, good money. And my wife was 8 months pregnant with our fourth child. So a lot of people say, you got to have the right time. Guess what? There's never a right time. You got to have clarity of why you're doing it. And again, that belief system and be able to bet on yourself. But that support is huge, whether that's, support. For me, it was support at home and then support from a small group of people around me that I went to for advice that helped me believe as well. Right. So I remember my wife saying, "Is this the right time?" And I just looked her right in the eye and I'm like, "No, this is a terrible time." I mean, you're 8 months pregnant with our fourth child in a new
Yeah.
home, and if this doesn't work, we're it's probably not gonna end well, right? But that wasn't the thinking. It was that. So I would say your belief and support are the biggest two, and then the third one is action. You got to take action every single day. It's again, it's not just going to happen. You've got to go and every single day show up, do the work, even when you don't want to do the work. You got to do it. And then the last one I would say is take calculated risk. You've got to be able to take risk and have the gut for it, right? It's not easy to bet on yourself and take action, have the belief system, but you got to do it. You got to take action and you got to work your butt off every single day. And I would say the other one is go public. A final one is something in my career I've done is go public with people, is tell them what you're going to do. And then you kind of get that self built in accountability partner that if I tell you said that I'm going to do this, and you come up to me, 6 months from now, hey, what about this? And I become a person that has patterns of not doing something that doesn't end well, right? So that's what I would say for that entrepreneur.
See, I really love that. And one of my favorite things about what you said is the action element, because a lot of people feel, and I think it's the generation we're in at the moment, and it's the social media element where they make entrepreneurship look like a shiny new object that is the world's best thing, but they don't talk about really the difficulty that is involved with entrepreneurship and actually taking action.
Right.
Things just don't happen to you. There's so many competitors in the market. There's so many people that are trying to take away from what you're trying to build. And
Right.
rightfully so, building for themselves, right? And so you need to actually show up and show value to the marketplace to even give an opportunity for anyone else to give you the view what you feel like you deserve, right?
Yep.
And so I think it's really important. You have now, you've grown the organization since 2014 to now 9 offices over the United States, over 100 financial advisors. Talk to me about that expansion period, because that you're probably at a stage in business where a lot of people are probably aspiring to or want to get to. Talk to me about how you approach that kind of level of scaling and expansion. Is it about hiring? Is it about getting capital? Is it investment? What's the key elements there to really up your hand?
And I would say, so we've got a little over 40 advisors. I think it's 44 or 46 advisors at our firm. Those hundreds of advisors are the ones I've recruited, counting the other firm for them as well. And so I think the first and foremost is we don't sit down. A lot of places have this goal of I got to get to this town and this place. And so our focus is less about that and less about size and more about people. And so our culture is extremely important to us. And we have what we call here, hopefully I can say this word on your show, but we have what's called the no asshole rule. And so we're way more focused on, having no assholes in the firm. And so if I can wake up every single day and no matter what office I'm in, know that I can go and be excited and happy and who I'm going to go see and spend my hours with today, that's what I care more about. Like, for example, Nashville, Tennessee is 4 hours from here. It's one of the busiest cities in America right now and fastest growing cities. We would love to be in Nashville. That'd be awesome. But I'm not going to go do stuff just to get to Nashville just so we can say we have Nashville. If the right person at the right time comes up, absolutely we'd be open to the idea. So hopefully that makes sense. It's just for us, it's focused on the people. And then I think it's our culture that helping you achieve a future great in your past is, yes, it's for our clients, but it's also for our advisors and our staff. We want them to have a future greater than their past. And so that's the focus. It's a family focus. It's be good in your community, do the right thing, be humble, be trustworthy, respectful, all those things. Do that. And I think that attracts people to that culture. And then also I shouldn't say all, but 90+% of our advisors have come from referrals from other advisors inside of our firm.
Wow.
So if you think about that, right? If you were unhappy and hated life at your job, and are you going to refer somebody to that company? Say, hey, come work with me. I'm miserable. No, you're going to say, hey, I love it here, man. And I think you would too. You ought to come check this place out. And that's how we grow, just one person at a time. And we don't try to overwhelm the system. And, just for numbers' sake, let's get the right people. we'll get the bus moving in the right direction.
As a testament to your culture and the environment that you've built at your company. But I think there's a lot of advice out there that talks about hire fast, fire fast, and all this type of stuff. But your approach feels like it's more correct, especially when you're building for, as you said, the no assholes kind of approach, making sure that the right people come in, because it only takes one asshole to actually change the culture, make things difficult for you, and make things difficult for other people in the organization, right? And it takes one bad apple to ruin the cart, right? So, absolutely. In terms of then, what separates a good financial advisor from a great one in your experience? What do you look for when you're bringing someone onto your team?
I think for us, it's a values connection. We don't connect now in the interview process, we're never going to have it work, right? And I've said this a lot of times before, but you've got this new baby and you're probably not there yet because it's a baby, but they have these little trains, right? And they've got magnets, and the magnets either they come together, or if you try to put them together on the wrong side, you can actually feel it repelling against each other, right? You can feel the magnets pushing it away. And I think that is the most important thing, that when you are in a values-driven relationship with a good human being, that's a big deal. And I know that sounds cliche, and of course, that's just the table stakes and what you should be doing. But it truly is, if you find that right person. Because in our industry, just like any industry, man, there's bad actors out there, and there's people, and you can sniff them out from a mile away, right? If you don't have that values connection. And I think if you just keep focusing on that and build it with people that are phenomenal human beings, then you as a leader will live a life that's uncommon, right? And that's what I want to continue to do, is build it with the right people. Because then at the end of the day, those right people, of course, they're going to take care of their clients, right? Of course, they're going to do the right thing. Of course, they're going to work hard. Of course, they're going to call you back when you call as a client, right? Of course, they're going to show up to the meeting. And you can just go on and on and on of things that they're going to do. And I think, of course, the research is important, and finding the right stocks and bonds and mutual funds and what to invest in. Again, that's table stakes. Of course, you've got to know that. But it's everything else around it that makes you a phenomenal advisor. And I think that is when I look at our advisors and I see the amount of business that they bring in year after year after year, and they're not cold calling, they're not doing a bunch of stuff. It's just their clients are referring business to them unsolicited. That's how it works right there, right?
Yeah.
If you were a bad advisor, they wouldn't be referring you, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's, for me, it's like, that's the check the box. It's like, okay, these are great people, or the community would not be continuing giving them the amount of business that they're giving them.
I think you hit the nail right on the head. And I think, especially in professional services, it's such a relationship-driven industry. It's all about how you build relationships for the long term. Every single person you spend time with, and you ensure you nurture that relationship. And so to actually grow through primarily referrals says a lot about the business that you run and the growth that you've had, and says a lot about the actual advisors you have in the organization. So there's a testament there. In terms of then, you used a word just a moment ago, leader, right? And I think leadership is one of the most important elements of running any kind of company. Being at the top, it doesn't mean that you're better than anyone else or anything like that, but leadership is, to run an organization, to build a company, there needs to be a level of leadership there involved. Share with me a little bit about your leadership style. How do you lead from the front with the company, with the organization?
Yeah, if I can, I'm going to read you a text I got this morning at 6:19 a.m. So I host a podcast as well. And I had a podcast out this week with a couple guys, and a person named Mia, who I hired when she was 21 years old. Okay, so this was in 2006, I believe, 2005, 2006. So this has been 20 years ago. So this person's now in her 40s. And she said, you talked about, in our recruiting process, you talked about joy in working. And I remember literally she wanted nothing to do with the financial industry in her internship interview. However, I thought to myself, as a 21-year-old, this guy seems really happy. And I responded to her this morning. I said, the great thing is, all these years later, I'm still happy in what we get to do. And I think, man, life is short. And if you have to go do something and be miserable at work every day, like, what the hell are you doing there? Like, life is short, man. Go find something that you're passionate about. And I
Mm.
understand you've got a job and income and health benefits and stuff like that. But man, is it worth being miserable your whole life because of that? So for me, I think leadership is having a vision, having clarity of the vision, sharing the vision, and hiring great people, and then getting the hell out of the way, and then let
Mm.
those great people go do what they want to do and
Mm.
trust that they're doing the right thing. Now you follow up, right? You connect with them, you have
Of course.
lunch with them, we meet with them, all that stuff. But again, I think a leader, if I walked in the office, my chin down and my, kind of like this every single day, or my chest up, chin up, right? Kind of like what you would do as an athlete. I think that is a good sign for what
Mm.
you need to do in an office. And I'm not saying walk in fake and happy every day, but have a process in the morning. I do the same thing every morning. I have what I call my daily vitamins, and that gets me going. And then I can help others get going as well.
I love that. I love that. But talk to me a little bit about what your daily vitamins are. What is it that you do in the morning that sets you up right for the day? What's that routine?
Yeah, so it's been this way for a long time. I call it Focus 90. It's the first 90 minutes of my day. I got to focus on things that make me better, because if I can win my
Mm.
first 90 minutes of the day, I can be a better husband, I can be a better dad, I can be a better leader, I can be a better friend. And don't get me wrong, there's days I don't do it, right? There's days you have early meetings and you didn't get up early enough to go do it, or hey, you got a new baby and maybe you didn't get as much sleep last night and you're exhausted, right? You don't even know what your name is. But for me, it was as I was growing in my career and raising children,
Mm.
I'd have those days where I'd be like busy as heck all day long, and I'd come home and like, what did I really accomplish today? Right. And gosh, I didn't get anything in that builds me. And so I created this Focus 90. And so for me, they change every 90 days. I actually have a journal. Didn't mean to plug that, but I have a journal. It's called Achieving a Future Greater Than Your Past. It's on Amazon that people can get, and it leads you through a 90-day plan. So then you get another one in 90 days, and it just keeps going. And so for me, I got to read 10 pages every day, right? And so if I can read 10 pages of a book that helps me in personal development, self growth, an autobiography, learning from another leader, something like that, if I can read 10 minutes or 10 pages every single day, some days are easy, some days are hard. If I can get some sort of movement in, look, I'm not saying get up and you got to go pump iron and lift weights for an hour. I'm saying just do something for 5 or 10 minutes if that's all you got. Just get your body moving, stretch, do some jumping around, do whatever you need to do. Do that. A little morning meditation that I can do. So 5 or 10 minutes of just focusing on my breath. And all this is before jumping on email and Instagram and all this stuff, is just get these things done, those daily vitamins. So read 10 pages, meditate, move around. I use prayer time. So I like to spend, a daily prayer. And again, that may take 2 minutes. It may take 15 minutes. Just depends on what's going on in your life, right? Do that, and then get some water, do some, water intake, and do that. And then I can sit down with my journal. So I'm a big journal guy, and I will journal about my day. So I'll write down my game plan. I'll write down what I'm thankful for. I'll write down what I needed to do today. I can write down who I need to connect with today. And so I just think it's really important, because if I can win my morning, I'll win my day. If I can win today, I can win tomorrow and the next day and then next week and the following week and the following month and the next quarter, the next quarter, the next year, the next year, the next decade. Right. And that's what can happen.
I absolutely love this. And I think I'm actually going through this little bit of what you talk about there, that 90-minute kind of at the start of the day. Since my son was born 5 months ago, like sleep, as you will know,
It's awful.
it is out the question, right? And it's been a difficult transition from going from a normal human being to a parent, right?
Yeah.
and just actually realizing you have such little sleep to actually function, run a business, and go about your day. And I won't lie, like the first few months, it was a real, like I couldn't wake up. It was inconsistent wake up times, and then you kind of have meetings and everything's all over the place. And about a month ago, just before Christmas, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna like try and reset and give myself an opportunity to reset. And what I've been doing is exactly this. And I told myself, look, I'm not going to go to the gym and like pump iron, as you said. Like it's too overwhelming. I'm just going to wake up. I'm going to make my way to the members club, and I'm going to actually just have a swim, and just a 10-15 minute swim and a sauna. That alone, like the shift I have seen just from doing that. And I do that every single day. I make sure I don't miss that. There's days where my son wakes me up earlier than expected. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm up early then. And I'll leave earlier and I get to go there. But what I found immediately, I did this when I started running my business, right? But it was different because I had more energy. Whereas now it's like this, by having that time to be able to do that, when I return home after work and running the business, I can be present. And I feel like I've accomplished something throughout the day. And I find that any days that I actually didn't do it, and there was a couple of days where I messed up, I felt like I didn't do what I should have done in that day. And I think that it's such an important lesson that you shared. And I definitely do mirror in that start the day right and make sure the days starts early, I would say.
Yeah.
Because you give yourself an opportunity.
If I can make a comment, just as a guy that's older than you and has done this 4 times with kids, just know that it's normal to feel that way, right? You're going to go through this season of life because it is a season. When you're in the season, you're like, holy crap, this is impossible. I mean, I remember driving one time between meetings and I drove by this hotel and I'm like, I wonder if I just went and got like a hotel room and just slept for like 4 hours and then just went home, right?
Yeah.
I didn't do it, but man, I remember like it was yesterday. I remember exactly where I was at. And I'm like, it felt like it would have been the greatest thing ever, But so I just would tell you, keep going. And the thing I learned is take progress over perfection. I think as human beings, we want to be perfect. And I got to have my perfect little morning schedule. And I've got to do this. And if I don't do this, I'm a failure. Is just grade yourself on your potential and your past and your peers. So those 3 Ps. And I think that just focus on progress, not perfection, is what I would tell you.
I absolutely love that. If there's anything I'm going to take from this podcast, it's definitely that into my every single day. I love that. And just on that sleep point, it was the other day as well. Before he was born, I was always on top of getting my hair cut and everything. Now I choose sleep over haircut every single day. Like, I need to get my hair cut. No, I'll take a nap. Thank you very much if I need to on a weekend or something like that. So yeah, no, completely. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm living it, right? So while we're on family and life in general, a lot of building a business and running a business, a lot of people talk about work-life balance and things like that. And I know you have an interesting view on that. I'd love for you to share that with our audience today.
Yeah, I think, and you said this because the world says this is it's work-life balance. And I am always telling people, I think we need to change it to work-life integration. And because in my opinion, other people can argue with me on this, and I'm sure there's studies out there that can show you can have balance, but I think balance is BS. So, because there's going to be times that your scale, if you will, is all family here and your work is here. And there's going to be other times where it's like this, right? You've got a big project going on, or you just get this new business starting. When I was starting Visionary, I was working all day at my firm that I was at the time. I would come home and be dad and husband for about 3 hours. I would come home, we'd do dinner, we'd hang out a little bit, help get the kids to bed. And then it was work until 1 a.m. on a conference call with my business partner, Tim, or working with attorneys to get our business set up. Whatever it was doing, I had this quote unquote second job at night. There was zero balance in that. That was all work and a little bit family. But ultimately, it was for the family.
Yeah.
And so and I don't think you can live your entire life that way. If you do, I think you get your priorities wrong. And so now, if I can have family, here and work here, that's not balance, but that's my sweet spot. That's my integration. I can hire the right people to do the job that they need to do, so I can spend more and more time with my family and more time with our clients, right? And so that, for me, it's integration, not balance.
I love it. I love it. We have to jump into the next segment of the podcast. I could speak to you for hours, Brett, but let's jump into the next segment, which was what we call the Entrepreneur's Room. And it's a series of questions we like to ask all of our guests to give our viewers and listeners an opportunity to understand how business owners and business leaders think and operate when running their business. So at this stage of the podcast, I like to ask the same question, which is, how are you currently spending your days as the leader of your business?
Well, again, I start my mornings and I use a checklist here. And so, this is next week's, but, I have a checklist I use. It's got my stuff I got to do on it. It's got my pictures that inspire me, from stuff with my family to just other, stuff that inspires me. It's on there. I've got a paragraph or 2 that I say to myself every morning. And so I spend my time getting my head right there. And then I spend my days working with others to help them achieve a future greater than your past. You're going to hear me say it a million times. And so I'm lucky that I get to look at my calendar and every day, all day, it's just with people that I want to be around. And
Mm,
I've worked really, really hard to do, I call it the success matrix. If I want to
mm,
work on the big projects and the big wins,
mm,
anything else we will hire out. I don't want to be in the
mm,
weeds. I'm not as good in the weeds. I've
mm,
learned over the years to do what I'm uniquely qualified to do, and
mm,
that's to be with people and to be with people, helping them with their goals, their dreams, their challenges. And if I can
mm.
spend time doing that, again, that may be clients, that may be advisors, it may be people in the community, it may be a podcast. That's what I get to spend my day doing. And I do it with a lot of energy and try to help as many people as we possibly can.
Love it. Love it. What are the most important metrics for you when running the business?
Well, every week, I mean, I go through my, and I'm probably a bad person to ask these questions because I'm not a numbers guy to where we have to hit this certain thing. And I think, again, that attracts the right person and it's helped us be successful. But I mean, our metrics are joy. Are you having fun at work? Are we doing things at work? Am I connecting with you? So, what I track every single day, I have on my list here is
Mm,
one advisor call. Have I reached out to one advisor today to check on them, tell them what they're doing great, how's their family? And if I can do just one, right? So many people think you got to do a 10, 15, 20 things a day to be successful. One advisor call. Now, I may have another meeting or two with advisors, but one call. And so I
mm,
try to track that stuff is what am I doing to reach out? I track my gratitude. I track my joy. I track my workouts. I track our client meetings, and that's it. I'm not a huge number tracker. Just
I
do
love
the
it.
right thing.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I get a lot of answers when I ask this question. From all sorts of different entrepreneurs at different stages of their business. But I love what you said. And it's like you're prioritizing the people internally over any other thing. And I think that there's a famous saying if you look after your people will look after your customers. And that kind of bleeds through, making sure it's a good environment, a good culture where people actually enjoy the leadership, but at the
Yeah,
same time, enjoy each other's company, I guess.
that's right.
So, how are you currently growing the business? What kind of business development activities are you doing? I know you mentioned a lot of referrals and things like that, but what is it that you're specifically doing to grow the business?
Yeah, I mean, I'm broken record said, and I apologize, but for us, it's we're not trying to be the biggest. We want to serve and go deep with our clients, and so we don't have a metrics. We don't have quotas for our advisors. We let them grow the business they want to grow, and so we
Mhm,
sit down. They have their goals, their dreams, their aspirations. It's our job then to provide the back office and the firm to allow
mm,
them to put their car on our chassis, if you will, and
mm,
then and drive it. And so if you're an advisor in our firm, your goals and dreams are going to be different than the person down the hall from you, right?
mm,
And so our job is to continue to put together a great product, if you will. And whether that's technology, it's through our compliance, it's through marketing, it's through content out there, is because that content builds credibility, and then
mm.
they just continue to grow and get the referrals that they want to get. So again, there's not a lot of metrics in our firm of you got to do this or else. Live the life, man. Live the life that you want to have clarity. Let's make it happen.
Love it. Love it. So, where do you see the business in the next 3 to 5 years? Is it more people, more happiness, more joy? What's your vision of the future?
Yeah, I think it's definitely there's more people. There's definitely more happiness, more joy. It's continuing to work hard on that stuff, the culture. But I think we're at a point in our careers that I think we're going deeper and deeper with clients. And so I think yes, we'll help them with their investment planning and retirement planning and college planning and estate planning and helping them with their accountants through tax planning, all those things. But what I'm seeing more and more is our clients want help in life, life planning, life coaching, if you will, helping them see a clear picture because there's so much noise going on in our world and the phones and constant instant gratification and all this stuff that nobody slows down to find out what's truly, truly, truly important to them and what makes them tick. Right. And our job, as I said earlier, is that take them off the treadmill of life. Our job is to get them off that treadmill and find out what the future really looks like and how we're going to achieve in all areas of their life, not just in financial services.
Love it. Love it. You've been an entrepreneur since school, right? Since you've
Yeah.
been selling candy to other students. What is the biggest lesson you could share with us today? What's your biggest kind of takeaway from your years of experience that you can share with our audience?
It goes back to what I said earlier is if you can believe it, you can achieve it. And I truly believe that humans can accomplish anything they put in their mind when they believe it and they take action. And we built another new business called Beyond, and it's going beyond your own expectations, going beyond your limiting beliefs, go beyond for your family, go beyond for the community. And it's right here over my shoulder. It's a hidden speakeasy, but it's members only. And we have 80 members currently, that pay a monthly number, and they're a part of a community that's bigger than them. And it's unbelievably great people. So they know when they come here to hang out socially, they're with great other entrepreneurs and leaders and good people. And that was a thought, like, there's nothing like that around here. And it was just something that it was put into my mind. And it took me 2 to 2.5 years of going public, talking about it to people, getting feedback, getting belief from others, helped me have belief. And then it was like, you know what? Let's just sign the lease. Let's do the construction. Let's get it done and let's go. And it's been wildly successful, and it's been open for about a year. And I just think that, again, if a person can believe something, they can achieve it. Just stop telling yourself, I can't do this or I can't do that.
Stop bringing obstacles and roadblocks up before they've even. There's going to be plenty out there anyways. You don't need to be one of them, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Well, Brett, it's been an absolutely fantastic conversation. You've shared some great insights. I really thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I like to end every single podcast with the same question, which is, if you had a magic wand you could wave to solve one of your business's problems, what would that be?
Oof, a magic wand to solve one of my business's problems. What would it be? Man, you stumped me here.
Yeah. Most people do. Most people have to sit and think for a little bit.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of good stuff going on. I think the magic wand would be there's a lot of people at firms that are, I don't want to even say they're unhappy, but they are in an environment that they have a belief that isn't necessarily true, that they can't be a great advisor independently without the company that they work for. And companies do a very good job of training people to believe that. And what I have found with so many different advisors that we've recruited from so many different walks of life, it's just not true. So if I could have a magic wand, and I can tell you, every time we recruit a new advisor and they come in, they were scared. What if my clients don't come over? It works every time. And they say, gosh, I wish I'd have done this sooner. My magic wand would be able to go out there and just start, waving that wand at all these places and letting them see what the future could be like. That's the visionary way, right? And helping them achieve that future that they would like to have.
Love it. Brett, thank you very much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Awesome.
It's been great. So for anyone out there that might want to reach out to you, might want to speak to you, maybe get some financial advice from one of your advisors, where would they go? How would they find you? Where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, you can go to visionarywealthadvisor.com, visionarywealthadvisors.com. You can go to brettgilliland.com, and that kind of points you to Visionary or our foundation or Beyond or our podcast. And so that kind of points you to the right directions on anything that I'm a part of. So visionarywealthadvisors.com for our firm, brettgilliland.com for myself. And I'm on all the social media channels. You can find me on there.
Awesome. We'll put everything in the show notes so everyone's got a nice little place to get it. But again, Brett, thank you very much for today. It's been great.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.